Greetings, YouTube. LMS Tactical here. Hope you guys are doing good. I am heading home from the VA and in Washington, D.C., and my phone holder broke, so I got to hold it here, and sorry about the video quality in my thumb or whatever that's showing. So I wanted to talk, that video I did the other day about letting go got me thinking about another subject. I think I did a video on it a long time ago, but can't remember. So I'm going to run it by because I know there's a lot of people going through a lot of things, and I like to share because we can inspire each other. And so this one, as you probably guessed by the title, is about divorce. And this is kind of going out to anybody that might be in the middle of a divorce. And there, divorces, there's good ones and bad ones and terrible ones, but when you think about it, they're all terrible, because no matter what's going on right now, at one point you love that guy or that girl that you're getting ready to divorce, or you're going through divorce. And so it's hard. It's hard on you. It's hard on the other one. It's hard on the kids. If you have kids, it's hard on the friends. It's hard on the families. Nobody gets out of it unscarred. That's just the reality of it. But I happen to be a veteran of a divorce, and I want to share a little bit of that with you as an inspiration. And I want to talk about just how bad it got and how bad it can get. And then there's a happy ending. So brace yourself. So I'm going to try to not get into too many details out of respect for my ex-wife, who I doubt watches these videos, but you never know. And I know my kids every now and again, or sometime after I'm dead, they may want to scroll through and see these. So I have a rule that I don't badmouth their mother. I just don't do it. I was in love with her at one point, and I had 3 great kids with her. And we were married for 20 years, together 19. The last year was the year of the divorce, and the last year of the marriage. And so basically, all I can give you about a background of us as a couple was, and let me just trust me on this. We were considered, I was a cop at the time. We got married when I was 21 years old. She was 18. I just got out of the Army. Met her, fell in love with her instantly. Gorgeous woman. And, we were kids looking back on it. And so the fact that we stayed together, let's say 19 years, that's a miracle in and of itself, because of the age. But let me tell you, cops don't typically stay married that long. It's very hard. It's a hard career to have a marriage on. And a lot of opportunity for the cops to do things and to cheat. When the wives or the spouses, they have to put up with a lot of the personality changes that somebody goes through when they're wading through the human carnage, especially back in the 80s and 90s in Los Angeles, during the gang wars and such. So it can be really stressful on a marriage, and I consider myself very lucky that we got through it as long as we did. Now, obviously, if you were to talk to my ex, you'd hear a whole different story. So you're going to hear it from my perspective, because that's all I have. For, I don't know, man, 19 years of that marriage, talk about being blind. Every day of my life, I would literally thank God. I'd be like, how did I get so lucky? It's such a beautiful wife, and she's so, in love with me, and blah, blah, blah. And, my friends would be like, man, you guys look like you've been dating, and, like you're still dating. I mean, you guys are still lovey-dovey. I feel like I got a flat tire here or something. I mean, we were like the envy of everyone, because we were in such great love. Now, unbeknownst to me, oh shit, wrong side. Fuck it, I missed my exit. Unbeknownst to me, she wasn't as happy as I thought she was. So there goes the thing. But so at one point, I mean, we had 3 beautiful kids, still do. They're grown, identical twins that are now like 32. My daughter's 30. And life was good, it was a hell of a lot better than I grew up. And it was just like a dream. But I always had that feeling that it was too good to be true, and something was going to go wrong, and maybe somehow I subconsciously sabotaged it. Who knows? But I ended up getting hurt in an accident, one of many. I mean, I've had like 32 surgeries. I mean, I'm constantly getting hurt. And at that time, it cost me about a year off of my feet. My leg was just totally destroyed. I got rods and screws and a piece of metal from the knee down to the ankle. Major stuff. Could have lost the leg. Never knew. Wasn't sure if I was ever going to walk normal again. The doctors couldn't guarantee it. unbelievable amount of therapy and a hospital bed in my house, and just laid there, man, and was absolutely had destroyed my physical life. And it was right at that time that I discovered that my wife was not being faithful to me. And, you know, I'm one of these guys, like, I make a lot of mistakes in life, but I don't cheat on my wife. I never did, never will. I'm the kind of guy that if I promise you I'll be back next year with $100 I owe you, I'm going to be back next year with $100. My vows meant something, you know. My wife was the most important person in my life. So they really meant something to me. And because so many cops were getting divorced at the time, I mean, you'd get in the police car with your new partner, and it wasn't, are you married? It was, how many times have you been married? That was the standard question. You know, they don't usually make it past 4 or 5 years. So we were an anomaly. I'm listening to this sound of my tires making. And so I just had one real hard, fast rule. I said to her, hey, listen, no matter what happens, just please don't be that person. Don't let me be that guy that thinks everything's okay and beautiful, and then I come home and find out you're cheating on me or something. I would tell her, hey, look, we got married very young, and you know, are you getting bored with me? And I thought I was doing everything right. Now, on the bad side, I've realized throughout the years that I was very controlling and very jealous, and, you know, blah blah blah. So, you know, it wasn't like I was some kind of a great, perfect husband, but I thought things were good, and they weren't. For her. So for whatever reason, she felt justified stepping outside the marriage, and unfortunately I learned it wasn't like a one-time thing. I was living in a large amount of denial, let me tell you. I mean, I just didn't want to see what was right in front of me, because it would have been just devastating. So there I am, crippled, unable to walk, and I find out that my life is pretty much over. And you know, when I confronted her on it, you know, it was kind of one of those things, you know, I'm like, hey man, I thought we were the happiest people in the world. And she's like, well, no, that was you. And I said, you know, well, maybe you haven't loved me in the last year. And she cuts me off and says, the last 5 years. And I'm thinking, holy shit, would have been nice if you told me about it. And she's telling me everything was okay. Another story. So bottom line is, not only am I now, I immediately file for a divorce in a wheelchair, and it turns completely ugly. Now, this is a lady that we were like best friends, all right? Let's pretend that she still loved me and everything was cool the way I thought it was. I mean, you know, she knew all my inner secrets. 20 years, man, together. She knows every thought that ever went in through my head, and I always regretted that later, because, you know, you share yourself with somebody and then they fuck you, and man, that's another double whammy. But you can't imagine the devastation. I can't even describe it, because not only am I concerned about my career, the fact that I'm out of work for a year, the fact that I may never walk again without a limp or without a cane, but now I got to go through this divorce. And you know, the thing that I wasn't ready for was the minute I filed for divorce, holy shit, man, I became fucking Adolf Hitler, because now it wasn't me divorcing her. In fact, if you ask her right now, she'll tell you that she divorced me. That's what she tells people. And, you know, I get it. Nobody wants to be dumped. But she, suddenly I was the worst fucking thing that ever lived, man. I mean, I was an abusive motherfucker. And I'm like, wait a minute. So I was hitting you? Well, no. Okay, so what? So you were verbally abusive. And she used all the key words that women use when they want to fuck you over. You were verbally abusive. I'm tired of being your doormat, blah, blah, blah. And of course, nobody's going to go around and tell everybody in the family, and she had a huge family, hey, Mike divorced me because he found out I was cheating on him. Nobody's going to do that. So what she did was went around and told everybody, hey, I'm divorcing Mike because he's been abusive, and I just didn't want to say it. And everybody's like, wait a minute, I thought you guys were real happy. Yeah, you know, I was keeping it all inside. So, you know, not that I'm a big reputation guy, but come on, man, that fucking hurts when you give every ounce of your being into making your wife the center of your life and keeping her happy and being true and blah, blah, blah. And then the world hears a whole nother story that's fucking come out of nowhere. So, and who, God knows what the kids were hearing, right? You know, who knows? So, I'm still trying to rebuild those fucking damage done to those kids from just going through the divorce, and they're not kids anymore. And the older they get and the more they experience the reality of fucking the world, how people can be, now granted their mother is still going to be their idol. I mean, she's my daughter's like this is my best friend in the world. And, I'm just some fucking dude that, she has to call every month or 6, and say, hey dad, I love you. That's what happens. Guys get horse fucked in divorces. I mean, come on. There's just no two ways. And I was in California, and so I also got horse fucked in the courts because California is a no-fault state, and there's a lot of them. New York, whatever, liberal states. And basically, a no-fault state, for people that don't know what that means they don't really give a shit why you're divorcing somebody. It's who makes the most money and how they're going to divvy it up. Now, in some states, the fact that she was cheating on me, she would have got nothing. But I got horse fucked financially. That's a whole nother video. It took me fucking years to unfuck myself from that kind of disaster. And I mean petty shit, taking credit cards out in my name and maxing them out real quick. And, I assumed everything, not to mention the $1,900 a month child support and fucking, which I didn't mind, but the spousal support. I mean, I got lucky because it was only half the length of the marriage. It's like 12 years or something. And 10 years. So, yeah, because in California, it could have been fucking for life. And it wasn't about the money. It was about the principle. I got to pay somebody that fucking shattered my life. But anyways, I'm not bitter. I've let it go. So, in the midst of this whole thing, I'm going through therapy. I'm trying to learn how to walk again. I'm going to fucking court dates, man. I could barely fucking move, and let me tell you, it was bad. I mean, there was a long time where it took, 2 or 3 people to get me to the bathroom and take a crap. And it was basically friends that would come over, and, my ex would be gone for fucking days, man. And I'd be sitting in a chair. I couldn't move. I couldn't make coffee. I couldn't do anything. And I'd come up. She'd go up and get all dolled up for her boyfriend, and she'd be coming down the stairs, and I'd say, hey, let's talk. And she would hold her keys up. And literally, this is exactly what she did. Bye. I mean, so you start getting you have a lot of time to think when you can't walk. And let me tell you something, man. The shit that I was thinking wasn't fucking nice, because we all think about killing people. I started planning shit, man. And I mean, I wasn't fucking kidding you either. I mean, I'm not kidding. I was righteously planning. And of course, it wasn't her. I was going to go after this fucking dude. And then when you think about it years later and you're thinking, well, that fucking guy doesn't owe me anything. Anybody that's, some hot chick's going to fucking blow him or fuck him is going to take him up on it. So I was being pissed off at the dude because I was still protecting the woman that I'd loved for so long. You see, psychologically, there's a lot going on there. And so it took me a long time to realize that. But this is how I ended up in Virginia, by the way. So I got like 655 guns and 5 million rounds of ammo. And you know what? I realized this ain't safe, man. I had a buddy of mine. I called him up. He came over, took all my fucking guns, including my duty weapon. And I didn't want a gun near me because, A, I didn't trust myself, and B, she was coming up with such weird shit that her boyfriend was kind of guiding her through it, because he'd been divorced 3 times from fucking around with married women, and fucking lie down with dogs, you get fleas kind of shit. And so it wouldn't be beyond her, I thought, to just allege that I pointed a gun at her. So I got rid of all my guns and fucking sat around and was waiting to heal. And on a spiritual note, my leg was not fucking healing. And I believe to this day God had that accident happen to keep everybody safe, including myself. Because at the lowest point of the divorce, and I'll tell you this, man, and this is really where I want to talk to you that are going through it. You're going to go through some shit. And it gets bad. And if you're going through it right now, you know how bad it gets. It gets twice as bad if you actually love the person. And the worst, I could tell millions of stories of the sad shit that I went through during that divorce. But I'll just bring you to the lowest moment. And that was the night or the day, and we had a dog at the time. And at the day, my wife was out fucking the guy. The kids had just abandoned the fucking old dude. They didn't want to have nothing to do with me or the situation. It was too much for them. I didn't see him, man. I mean, honestly, I don't think they were there. They were sleeping at friends. I'm sitting alone in the fucking house. And, she'd come home to get a new fresh pair of crotchless panties or whatever the fuck she was doing. And so one day I'm just like, I've had it, man, and I'm starting to feel really suicidal. And once that enters your mind, man, it's hard to get it out under those circumstances. You start thinking, man, I'm an old broken motherfucker. I'm in my 40s. I got a limp. I was used to being married, and quite frankly, I love being married. I never felt I was missing out by not having girlfriends and shit. I'm a one-woman dude, and so I was realizing that, my God, I had visions of me living in a fucking mobile home, like some broken down rusty trailer, because that's all I could afford with all the debt that I was in, man. I mean, my credit was fucking destroyed. I lost the house, lost everything, repossessed the car, everything. So I'm broken and brokenhearted, and I'm like, what the fuck is the point of living, There's no woman on earth that's gonna want some fucking dude my age with all crippled and shit. It's just no way. And I planned it out, man. I righteously planned it out to the point where I'm a considerate dude, and I was actually gonna drive over to the mortuary, or the coroner's office in Los Angeles, and just pull up in the fucking driveway and fucking get out and blow my fucking brains out. And I dressed for it, which was not an easy thing to do. It took me like 2 hours to get fucking clothes on. And wrote my little suicide note. And by the way, this is before I turned the guns in. You're probably wondering how I was going to do that. So see, I just remembered that. I turned in the guns after this, because this was actually part of that. That's when I turned all my weapons over to my buddy Gil. Thanks, Gil. I turned in so many guns to him that like 2 years later, he's like, hey, I found more guns in my attic. And I didn't even fucking know they were missing. So he shipped them out here. But you can never have enough guns. So I had figured it all out, man. And I wrote my little note, put it in my pocket. I was sitting there, and just tears coming down my fucking face, man. And my dog knew that there was something wrong, and she was crying, and I'm like telling her, I'm sorry, Bailey, I'm sorry, whatever her name was. I think it was Bailey. Sorry that I got to do this, man. Oddly enough, check this out. There's a little funny part here. Before I decided to do it, I go on the internet, and at that time I wasn't a big internet guy, and I found a fucking group. I was like, how do you stop killing yourself? I Googled that, and I found this group, people that were depressed, and they're here to help people not commit suicide. This is a fucking true story. So I get into this chat room. Hey, man, here's what's going on. This is what I'm thinking of doing. And so people start to, hey, brother, hang in there. And all of a sudden, this fucking moderator pops up, and she goes, hey, I'm going to boot this dude out. This guy comes on here about once a week telling the same story. Now, I swear to Jesus, I'd never talked about suicide on the internet to anybody. And I literally went, no, this is my first time here. Yeah, right, asshole. And they kicked me off. And I looked up and I said, all right, God, I got your message loud and clear. And that's when I went and wrote the note and said, fuck it, man. I can't even get help on the internet. I mean, it's kind of funny now. So the thing I want you to focus on is that the feeling I had at that time was the same as if I had a hot, wet blanket wrapped about 3 times around my face. And if you're going through it, you know what I'm talking about. And every breath was an effort. And I had to literally think about inhaling. I mean, it was too hard for me to keep living. I was tired to the soul. And I was just going to fucking end it. And I know a lot of people have ended it, man, with that same feeling. And that's what breaks my heart. The reason it breaks my heart is because of what I'm going to tell you. Is how this thing turned out. Obviously, I'm still alive. My car keys were on the island in the kitchen. And I remember I'm in my wheelchair heading toward the car keys, and I'm thinking to myself, man, the minute you touch those fucking keys, it's over, man. There ain't no coming back. You're going to pick them up, and you're going to go get yourself in that fucking car. You're going to head out and do it. Got my fucking gun in my pocket. And I was like, please, God, give me a reason not to touch those keys, please. But I was getting closer and closer to the keys, and I'm looking at them through the tear-stained eyes, and I'm just like, I don't want to do it. But I'm reaching for the fucking keys, and my fingertips almost touch the keys. And the front door flies open, and in walk my kids that I haven't seen in fucking who knows how many days. And my daughter was 15, the boys were 17. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks, man. What the fuck are you doing? A lot of things hit me. So you're going to take their father away because you can't handle the pain. You're a paratrooper, man. Suck it the fuck up. These are all the internal dialogue shit going on. You're going to let somebody's actions cause you to turn your life off, which would have made my wife a rich person, by the way. She's probably pissed off I didn't fucking do it. But, yeah, I mean, at that moment, I asked God to forgive me. And I vowed that I would never fucking ever think of doing that again. I never have. But I went on and went through a lot of trials and tribulations, a lot of hell, court dates, very, very, I don't want to get into it, but horrendously mean things from my ex. Calling ex-employees that I had hired when I was a security manager at a cable place. And the ex-employee was this like knockout that became a porn star righteously. And she calls me up, says, hey, you ain't gonna believe what your ex did. What? She asked me that she said that if she asked the porn star to write a letter saying that she had been fucking me for years and we had this relationship, because that would help the courts rule in her favor in terms of total custody of the kids, which would mean more money. That's just one story. I could tell you, I mean, now, by the way, this is a woman that I righteously worshipped the fucking toe jam between her toes, man. There is no man that ever loved a woman like I love this woman. And the reason I say that is, wow, when they flip on you, and and our shit destroyed a lot of marriages because people started looking at them, man, if that could happen to them, we're fucked. It fucked me up to the point where I'm like, there ain't a fucking thought in my head or a mark on my body that she don't know about. And she turned on me, man, for whatever reason. Maybe it's easier to fucking get rid of a guy, because she swore that I beat her. I'd be like, hey, you're telling everybody you divorced me, but I divorced you. And her response, oh, you just beat me to the courthouse. So I guess she was going to divorce me or something. I don't know. I never knew. I was getting bad signals from her, 12 days before I discovered she was fucking around on me. I got a letter still on my gun saying I should get rid of it. I kept all this shit for the kids, in case someday they wanted to know the truth, but that's not a good idea, because they're never going to fucking believe the father. Father's always fucked up, and the mother's an angel. That's just how it works. Any guy will tell you that. But my ex gave me this little thing. 10 things I love about being Mike's wife. Number 1, I love the way he still has that man in uniform look, even though he's not on the job. I love the way he is, and sexually. I love the way he raises our kids and how funny he is. I love, all these things that she loves about me. 12 days before, 12 days later, I'm an abusive cocksucker, and she was going to divorce me anyways. What the fuck, over? So, that's the kind of minutia that I had to deal with for years after that, trying to put all this shit together, which I did. But the point is, don't look when things get ugly in your divorce. Don't expect the same shit from the other one that you've been getting, because all it takes is one fucking advisor. Who knows who's pulling her strings? Probably her fucking boyfriend. But there is nothing fair, man, about a divorce. If you're a guy, you're going to get fucked. And that's just the way it goes. Now, I know women do too, but guys will always get fucked. And so, it came down to it where I had a choice, stay there in California and possibly end up killing this motherfucker. And I ain't going to prison, so that would have meant killing myself or whatever. Or go as far away as I could, and I could still be alive and contact my kids. And so I came out to Virginia. And my daughter resented me for so many years that we're just now trying to rebuild it. She's 30 years old. How could you leave me? How could you leave? Oh, I would have died. Well, it's fine. I mean, I got another son I hear from once every fucking 5 months. And then one of the boys calls me all the time. And, I hope it's from the heart. Could be out of obligation. I don't know. I know they love me, but they got their thing, and I'm some dude over here. So there are those things to think about. But I came out to Virginia, and I swore to God I was never going to fall in love again, ever. I thought about changing teams. I was going to start dating guys. I so fucking hated women, man. But I like being married, and I did not know how to date. And I made all the mistakes, I found out I had a real heavy thing for Asians. I dated a Filipino girl, and within like fucking a month, I got a expensive engagement ring. I'm going to marry her. First person I ever, because I felt guilty. I was married so long that anytime I'd kiss a woman or sleep with a woman, I felt like I'm cheating on my wife because I was so loyal to her. This took me years to get out from under that. And so I realized, well, I probably shouldn't marry this girl, and I broke her heart, and it's sad, and I'm sorry. Sorry, Arlene. And then I met this young Chinese superstar that was a model in Beijing, 5'10" volleyball player. Lynn, if you're watching, I know you're hot, and that was part of the problem. Oh, I love myself. Gorgeous chick, Chinese, but too young, and I didn't figure that out till I moved her in. And a little funny story about Lynn. Lynn used to love to be naked, and I was living in a condo in Arlington, across from the Pentagon. So I moved her in with me, and first thing she'd do is she'd get home is get naked and walk around. And after things started, she had some jealousy issues about my daughter's time with me and blah, 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 blah. She was just too young, not her fault. So I fucking literally told myself, I'm getting her out of my life, man. Today when I get home from work, she's gone. And I'd come home, sit down, she'd come walking by naked, and the little voice in my head would say this, literally: you will never have a piece of ass like that again. I'll kick her out tomorrow. And that went on for fucking months till I finally was like, fuck it, ain't no piece of ass worth this. Got rid of her. Finally, and that's another long story, I met my wife now, who this month is going to be our 13th anniversary. We're married 13 years. Fucking beautiful woman. Fucking beautiful soul. Beautiful everything. And here's the end of the story. There's life after divorce, guys. If you would have told me at any point back then, there's a million other ugly things I didn't tell you about what I went through to get to where I'm sitting. I'm in Virginia now. I have a beautiful home. I have property up in the Shenandoah Mountains. I've got my 3 original kids that come and go every now and again. Not often, but I'm in touch with them sometimes. I've got my 2 stepchildren who I've raised, and they're doing beautiful. My wife's son and daughter. And we adopted my 2 nephews who have served their country. One's in the Air Force, one just got out of the Army. I've got my beautiful dog, Mason. I had my beautiful dog, Charlie. Life is fucking good. It's much more than I ever just thought I'd ever see again. Much better than it ever was in many ways. But the only thing I really lost was my kids. I trust again. I trust my wife. It's a sad story, man. I mean, I think I was married about 5 years, man. One day it just hits me, man. And I walk up to my wife and I go, hey, honey, you know how I am with you guys. I'm an open book. I don't keep secrets. And I said, hey, this is probably going to hurt you, and I'm sorry, but I got to get it out of my system. I have never given you 100% of my love. I just realized that I'm not giving you 100%. I'm holding back. And she goes, oh, I know. I'm like, whoa, what? She goes, but I'm willing to, the little percentage that I get is so much better than I ever had that I'll take it. And I was like, wow. And that moment is when my true love came out for my wife now. And I mean, I opened up all the barriers and just let it out, man. Because I'm not going to let one bad thing fuck up anything in my future or now. You understand? What I learned amongst many lessons is we can never control what people do, but we can always control how we respond to it. And what I want to tell you people that's having a hard time breathing right now because you got that wet, hot blanket around you, remember the movie Private Ryan? This is how I look at my divorce. That beginning scene on the beach at Normandy. When I found out my wife was cheating on me, the ramp dropped and the bullets started coming in and people were dying all around me. And I was on that fucking beach and I just needed to get off of it. And every fucking day I moved a couple of inches up that beach and I kept looking at it that way. I'm on the beach, man. And I know one thing, if I stop, I'm going to die. And when I mean stop physically, stop mentally, stop spiritually. If I stop breathing, I'm going to die on this fucking beach. And before I knew it, man, the divorce was coming to a close and all the court dates were done and all the child shit was hashed out. And I was about, a quarter of the way up the beach and bombs are going off and shit was coming in, and you fucked over my niece, and we hate your guts, and we're on her side, and blah blah blah, and all these bombs coming, man, and financial bombs. Hey, we're taking your car, we're taking your house, bam bam bam, attorney's fees, 13,000-14,000 here, 20,000 there, just under fire. But I kept moving and I kept moving and I kept moving. And I finally got to the end of the fucking beach, and here I am, man. And friend, I'm telling you to keep fucking moving. Don't think stupid shit. Don't take your own fucking life. Don't kill anybody. Don't die of a fucking broken heart. Because no matter what, somebody once told me during my divorce, they said, someday you're going to laugh about this. And if I could have crawled out of that wheelchair, I'd have fucking ripped their head off and beat them to death with their own jawbone. And now I can laugh about it because there's some funny shit about it. And if I had more time and you had more time, I'd tell you. Life is meant to experience these challenges. I believe that. Whether it's getting up and going to work or changing jobs or all of us are very in fragile situations. Our current situation of absolute happiness can change with a phone call. Our current state of depression and hopelessness can change with just one phone call. As an example, keep moving and you'll get off the beach and you will be happy again. If you want happiness and you open your fucking heart and your soul to receive it, you'll be happy. Keep God, if you believe, and I hope you do, keep God involved. Keep praying. You don't have to understand why God does things. You got to trust him. You know how many times I looked up and said, what the fuck did I ever do, man? Okay, so maybe I'm a little bit harsh with the language, but I don't fucking stomp on midgets and frogs and puppies. I'm a nice motherfucking guy. Why are you ripping my motherfucking heart out? And God said to me in his own way, shut the fuck up and keep moving and see what's at the other end. See what's off of this beach. And it's fucking beautiful, man. So please hang in there. If you know somebody that's going through divorce or a hard time, why don't you share this video with them? We're all in this together, this life. And we got to help each other when we can, and that's why I share this shit with you. It's all I can do, man. I hope you got something out of it. You guys stay safe. Stay alive. LMS Tactical. Mike, I'm out.